I have to get this in the little holder thingy that I got here, so pardon the jostling around. Let's see if I, hopefully that'll stay put. Awesome sauce. Well, what do you know? It's Donald Kent Art, and I'm doing some comic book inking. And I got some tunes on in the background. I see a thumbs up already, so let's see if there's anybody in the chat. Not quite yet. Oh, hey, Crusader 21. I swear I've got to get you an award for coming to these shows. Thank you so much. So I am just going to focus here a bit, and I'll check the chat once in a while. I know a lot of people subscribe, so they probably have notifications. And away we go. Let's see. This scene here. I'll show you the previous page. Hold on. The previous two pages, actually. Hang tight. Okay, so in the beginning of the story, there is this business with a satellite that sort of a Dr. Evil type character is scoping out a location, and you see the sort of the laser beam gun gets activated. He clicks fire, and Kablawi shoots off there, and then in the following page there's a ginormous explosion. I have to move over. The scale of the buildings around this show the size of the explosion. You know, like a block or two, or I don't know what it is. It's quite ginormous. Actually, it gets even bigger down here. But there's this dude in a motorcycle helmet who happens to see it. He peels out, and he's cruising on down. And while everybody's running away from the explosion, he's driving towards it. And then we cut back to the Dr. Evil hand who's shutting the laptop, and he's kind of contemplating his deeds here. So maybe I'll hit up the eyes right now, since I'm here. Yeah. One thing about comics is that you don't freehand everything. Certain things you want to use these kind of templates for. It's a difference. I don't know. I mean, I like to be loose. I like the looseness of my style, but not so much so that it's messy. I think that there's a very fine line there for me in terms of like what I want. So I depend on the templates and such for certain types of hard lines, like mechanical lines. Right. Is that right? Yeah. I'll check the chat in a little bit. this graphic novel. It's got the whole thing worked out in storyboards. Um, I've got like it's like 125 pages long. What I'm thinking to do is, how do I say this? Get the first one out in black and white with all the lettering, and then excuse me, and then use that as a kind of a platform to do crowdfunding to get the money to color it. Digital coloring is expensive. I found a guy, artist, who is out of South Africa, and I thought it'd be really cool to hire him. His rates are pretty fair. His work's very, very good, and I really, really want high quality colors on this, like Marvel, DC level quality. There are a lot of cheap labor guys out there that all kind of use the same methods or whatever, and it's not bad, but it's slightly under standard to what I want or what I think I'm used to. So I feel like this is my baby, and I really want it to be 100% phenomenal. You know, this is good quality as I can get it. You know, good quality. But that's going to cost money. Now his rates are good. I mean, I suppose I would say I wouldn't mind it if they were cheaper, you know. But it's rude in a sense to want that. You know, you get what you pay for in this life, and I don't want mid level stuff. I really this has to be good. It has to be good. So that's what's up, and there you go. And now I'm checking the chat for 1 second here. Let's see if we got. Let's see if I can maybe tilt this a little more. Maybe I'll need to center that. Who is here? We got Crusader. Nullis. Hey, steadfast friend. Just for fun, I like where this is going. All right, man. I appreciate you joining me here for this little inking in the studio time. So, I guess I can talk a bit about the story. I want to talk about the story, but there's always that like, don't give away too much kind of thing. That's a little tricky, but what can I say? So at this point, what I'll say is that it's the beginning of the story. I'm establishing the characters. I'm establishing the conflicts. Um, the beginning of the story, a lot of the main characters die, and it's kind of like, huh? Like what? You're just getting into this. You're just investing yourself, or like, seeing what's up with this story, and then I kill everybody off in the first page. So that is, in a sense, supposed to make you go, huh? It's a kind of a hook, basically. Then there's a flashback for this first issue. What I'll tell you is that new characters replace the old, and the key character who survives this explosion, he's the lead of the story. And I think, if this were to ever really take off and become something I could franchise, I could find a way in like, in comics, characters die and magically come back to life somehow because you didn't realize, oh, hey, there was a trapdoor or something. I'm not going to do anything cheesy or silly per se like that, but there is a device in this story, though, that would actually make sense if I wanted to bring these characters back. It's too early for me to reveal what the device is, I'll say it. There's a certain superpower that a certain character has that makes would make it so that I could bring them back. But anyway, so killing off this guy's friends and his team, etc., is part of the motivation of his disillusionment. Like he kind of realizes that you know who he trusted and who he believed in were really out to get him as well with them, right? He just happened to survive this because there's something more to him than he's not really totally human. There's some other aspect to him that he doesn't quite know yet. And I'll kind of this I feel like I can kind of toss out there. His dad is like an angel, and so he's kind of a half angel type character, which is why he's able to survive this ridiculous blast, this enormous blast. Um, not everybody is going to be watching these videos and know these things. It's only my super fans and my friends like you guys that come that get the inside scoop on this stuff. So you might say like, why comics? Like, what's the deal with that? And again, I say this maybe too often, but comics are film on paper, but also I feel that superheroes are American mythology, and then more than that, it's every comic book creator's dream to have their book optioned for like a film or a TV show or something. So, and my story would have to be like Mel Gibson would be the guy to buy it, because you know me, da, 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 da. So, people in our sphere are going to understand what I'm talking about. So, and then in color, this stuff comes alive like you can't imagine. It's so much more exciting to look at. I mean, I like black and white, and I try to make it, visually exciting and all that with the composition, etc. But there's just nothing like the color and how that makes it just explode off the page. So that's got to happen. Yeah. So there you go. Here's a really tricky thing. Drawing. So like this guy's got a helmet, right? How do you make these shiny hard surfaces, these sort of metallic surfaces? They're actually quite hard to do. There's something to it that's I don't know. I had to kind of research that for quite a while, before I could do it and such. And I don't really feel that I like maybe do it as good as my favorite artists or something like that. But there's still something there that I feel is strong enough. And hey, you never really like your own art as much as other people like it. It's just this kind of annoying reality that artists kind of have to deal with. Is sort of like, it's fine, it's good, but it's not John Buscema or whoever your favorite artist is. That in comics, there's a lot of really neat devices for things that you can kind of pick up, like these sorts of shapes. Those would be like lights reflecting off there, right? Reflective surfaces, I would say, are definitely one of the hardest things to do. There's a certain logic to it. For example, this kind of mirror, like what do you call that? A visor. It's gonna sort of reflect the environment that he's in, you know. And the good news is that the colorist actually handles a lot of that stuff. They have a certain knowledge of these kinds of things. There's been lots of times where I've spoken to my colorist and said, you know, this is a metallic object and it has to have a certain, you know, visual effect, da da da. And sure enough, bang, I hit it. You know, so the thing that's a little tedious about this is that there's a lot of debris around to draw, and you know, you're trying to show that there was an explosion, and so there's all this kind of detail. But the funny thing is, I mean, this is only like, I don't know, 4 inches long, 4 by 2 inches, but I'm putting a billion lines in it. So does that mean I'm crazy? Maybe. What should I do? Well, I'm not the guy that thinks like, oh, the more lines in it, the better quality it is. That's silly, but I gotta be honest, a lot of people think like that. You know, they kind of like, how long did it take you to do this? And that's fine, whatever, it's them, you know. To me, it's just trying to get the story across, you know, like what is this object, what is that object, what's the mood, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I'm going to go in with some heavy blacks in a bit to give it more drama. It's actually the darks or the shadows, if you will, that end up making a piece look really powerful. And there you go. I don't know what you guys can see here. So I'm in Twitter jail right now. How do you like them apples? They didn't really show me the post that I made that put me in jail for 12 hours or so. I'm not even 100% sure how long I'm in jail. Because at first they said 10 hours and then 12, and then the last one was like, oh, this could take up to a week. So, I mean, I did delete the post because they give you this little option to do that. But anyway, the damage is done. So, I really probably could stand to not shitlord so hard on Twitter. Twitter is really kind of like a heroin addiction for me in a kind of way, which I know that's a terrible thing to say. On the one hand, it's like, all right, this is pretty much the premier kind of social media for knowing what's going on and right on the edge of news, this or that. Of course, there's a giant, not giant, but I mean, I have like, I don't know, maybe almost 2,000, I won't call them followers, but people like mutuals, I guess. But I don't know, it's just, I don't know, it's sort of negative, you know, it's like a time suck. This is going to take a million freaking years to do, so I don't, in a way, I really shouldn't be on there. I should be here, right? You know? I think on the one hand, though, it's really good that our people can communicate to each other in that space, and that we can share information, help each other learn what's going on, but just feel like we're not alone. You know what I mean? Like, don't feel like we're totally alone in the fucking hellscape of like liberal Weimar America, you know. I saw an interesting post. It's sort of just your standard liberal woman, liberal white woman, and she's saying, why are all these like right wingers on my feed? I don't want that. I don't like that. Ever since Elon Musk took over, now I'm seeing this on my feed. I don't like it. And I thought to myself, like, you little baby, like the notion that, I want to remain in my bubble, and how dare you make me have to look at another point of view? Because it's inconvenient to have to think that, maybe these people are right and they have a different point of view, and, don't make me rethink my position. Don't show me facts. All that garbage. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I mean, it was like, oh God, it's just also tiresome, as they say, right? Also tiresome. All right, chat check. Let's see what you guys are talking about. I got 8 thumbs up and 4 people here. How does that make sense? Agreed, this looks great. Oh, cool. All right. And I'm really glad that you guys like it. Like I said, there's that. Is this any good? Is it? I know it's not bad. I wouldn't say that it's bad, but again, you have certain standards, and as an artist, you're really almost never satisfied. And it sounds like, well, it sounds kind of insane, right? Why do you make art? Well, you gotta try, you gotta give it a shot. You gotta communicate, and that's what it is. Okay. It's funny because you think like, okay, I'm drawing, like sort of the aftermath of an explosion. What does that look like? And you can uh, you can look up stuff on the internet and get fairly decent ideas on such things. But you also don't want to be spending every other minute kind of like, oh, well, let me look at my phone, and see. You generally know what it's supposed to look like, right? And not only that, like comics are kind of shorthand, like a visual shorthand. How do I say, like, you really need only to make the impression of what it is that you're trying to express. People will put it together. They'll be like, oh yeah, that's X, because of the situation. It's the context of a thing, and therefore I know what it is. Um, I guess there's these artists out there that what's the guy's name? He's a French Canadian artist that's just one of my Stuart Immonen is his name, and he actually retired. Um, at a fairly youngish age. I mean, people usually do comics until they die, pretty much. But uh, his work is very realistic. He's got this kind of realism, this ability to do realism, but yet it's comics, so it has like a cool drama quality. I'm really never gonna be that good, but like that is sort of the standard that I hold myself to, and it's a little brutal because it's an unfair standard. Um, and then there's that thought of like, okay, well, yeah, but he's getting paid by Marvel. I don't 100% know what the page rate is now. It's got to be fairly high, I would imagine. I mean, it also depends on if you're, you know, in demand or famous or all this kind of stuff. Um, and there you go. I don't even know if you can hear me with this music. I should turn it down or change it so I don't get in trouble. No stranger to trouble over here. How'd you guys like the recent shows that I did? Media to Rise and Spencer Quinn. I'm gonna change the music or turn it down or something. Talk amongst yourselves. Alright, we gotta get some tunage on. How about maybe some jazz? Um, if jazz is, like, if you guys despise jazz, I will change it to classical, but you're just gonna have to tell me. Ooh, sexy jazz. Alright, let's see what you son of a guns are talking about over here. We got, not much. Okay, we can hear you. Okay. Alright. So this character here, the bad guy that just blew up the building, his name is George Sorrows. Mr. Sorrows. Now that kind of sounds like another name that's... What does that remind me of? George Sorrows. Sounds familiar. So the book's kind of chock full of that little Easter eggs, little things that people would kind of know. Like I'm implying X. It's another fine line where you're like, okay, you want to do a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but you also don't want it to be campy, right? Not doing Adam West Batman campy type stuff. I want it to, I don't know, have like be punchy in a way. Yeah, punchy is kind of a good descriptive word. And some tongue-in-cheek references. Not everybody will get it. I think like our guys will get it, kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I'm talking a lot. I should probably let the colorist handle a lot of the shading in here, but I just feel compelled. Maybe I'm being too fastidious. Yeah, that's what it is. You figure like when people look at say a panel, how long, like how many seconds are they going to look at it and then like move to the next, move to the next. But the other side of it is that the beauty of comics is that you can come back and read the story again and again and again, and you can pore over it. So that expression, to pore over something. Anybody who grew up with comics and is a comics fan as a kid, you would pore over the comics. You'd just spend so much time kind of oogling at it and like taking in all the details. So I feel as if giving lots of details is, satisfying the viewer in some kind of way, I suppose. Or it's a form of neurosis and I need help. I need to get on some kind of medication, I guess. Doctor, how can you stop me from being an artist? Well, we've got this new prescription for you. You can be normal like everyone else. Yeah, just striving for mediocrity. What can you do? So, I could just do this without streaming it. I sort of feel like in a way, I'm like being a bad host because you know, I'm not. I don't have a show. I'm just drawing. I'm inking whatever I'm doing my comics. Um, but a lot of people have said like this is my gig. I love this. This is really enjoyable. It's chill or whatever. I guess people enjoy watching others draw. I don't know. I mean, I don't. I suppose I can agree to that. There's certainly artists that I've watched and kind of enjoyed seeing how they do it or what have you. Um, yeah. So I was talking about Stuart Immonen a second ago. This is quite old, and this is Image Comics. His work, like, as phenomenal as this is, it's actually like so compared to what he could do or what he has done, and that's what I mean about realism. Like, there's almost like a photorealism to his work. Um, it's just to me really stunning stuff. Also, I look at stuff like this for like, okay, how do you draw water splashing? How do you draw, like clouds from fire? What's a good way to add shadow to a face? What's a nice kind of layout? With like say breaking the panels up and such. This is kind of nice work. Use of the angles here, like so and so. You use that during an action sequence. What about where do you put the camera? How do you draw things far away? Like these blah blah blah. And there's quite a lot of detail in some of this stuff. So yeah, there you go. And now you know. Now you are a professional comic book critic. Now you can cash in. Think of all the girls you're gonna get. Woohoo! So, I'm just kind of talking to myself because we get along so well. No, I'm trying to talk so that you guys have something to listen to. uh, like I said, I feel like I'm being rude by not having a guest on or some kind of topic to cover that makes it worth your time and it has like educational value. But that's not the nature of what this is. This is just cozy art stream. And there you go. But if you guys have questions, I'm also happy to chat with you too. So I don't know if that's what you're into. If you want to pick my brain about anything. Been having some very, very, very good conversations on Telegram with some friends. Not gonna, break privacy or whatever. Of course, respect them and what have you, but just cool stuff learning about Indo-Europeans and like some ancient history. Robert Seffer, who I would hope you guys know who he is. He's kind of not really a guy in our sphere, but he's like what is he? Like a guy that a lot of people in our sphere pay attention to. Anthropologist, da da da. He seems to have a kind of a white positive theme, I suppose, to a lot of what he researches and talks about. And he has a new video on what's called the Yellow Emperor. Um, Apparently, there is data showing that, and this is pretty shocking and definitely controversial, that the some of the early founders of Chinese civilization were actually Indo-Europeans, and there's plenty of science to back it up. So, being a guy that lived in Taiwan and studied Chinese culture and the rest, da 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 da, you can imagine how something like that would be of interest to me. Um, Not something I'm gonna really aggressively tell my Chinese friends. Not that I don't have any like mission, or I'm not trying to you know prove a point or something, or that doesn't. What happened 5,000 years ago is another time, and it matters. I mean, it's important and it's interesting. For me, the takeaway, excuse me, is specifically about the Chinese philosophy of Taoism, which is, of course, something I studied, and it plays a huge role in martial arts and my martial arts, specifically with strategy and technique and all this stuff. So I thought, is there a chance that this one of the world's greatest philosophies was actually created by Indo-Europeans? And then there's quite a lot of interesting discussion about, what, how do you define white, or European, and like all these varieties. It's great to have friends that are in like smarter than you, or rather more educated than you, on certain things. I think we all have different fields of knowledge, and we can share with each other, whatever. But it's just a pleasure. You should always really try to make friends with or surround yourself with people that are more educated or smarter than you. I feel like that's a good way to grow. So, my personal interest again with the Taoism and that whole thing. So, a lot of people know I do kung fu, and I'm back to sparring regularly. So I'm just chatting here. I'll check the chat in a minute here, but I'm just you know musing. So I spar this one guy on Fridays who runs a school, and then he got to know some other dude that runs a kung fu school, and he's going to be joining that. The other dude is going to be joining us on Friday, so it's going to be quite amazing to be sparring with two teachers of kung fu schools. So that's the level that I'm at. Um, Now, you don't just do this with anybody, and it is very, very rare that you find people that want to spar, know how to spar, and especially people who run schools, because it's their business. It's how they make a living, and they don't want to be proven wrong. They don't want someone to beat them. They don't want to you know, think that, oh, maybe there's another system out there that's better than theirs or something. There's a lot of the guys that run schools are kind of egomaniacs in a way, and it just comes with the territory. I can't, whatever, whatever. So like, But one of the kind of values within traditional martial arts is humility. And without humility, you don't learn. And so, humility doesn't mean having pride in yourself, doesn't mean being a cuck. Like, it's, I don't think that you should, like, Asians don't have any exclusivity with, like humility, it's just a good trait to have, Um, but the lesson here really is that if you don't have it, you're stuck you're like stuck on one plane, and you can't grow and you can't learn, etc. So, lucky for me, the new guy is cool. He's chill. Um, the I'll just sort of say the systems. Like, the new guy claims to do Taoist or Taoist kung fu, and it's Wudong or Mudong is essentially the name of the system. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but whatever. You can look it up if you're curious. Anyway, and then the other guy is his system is called Praying Mantis, and so at least when you know these things, you can kind of have a sense of what I'm going into. Um, the Taoist Kung Fu is a lot like the Kung Fu I've learned. So what's weird about it is it's going to be like sparring myself, which is a totally unique and cool thing because I've sparred karate guys and Wing Chun guys and what do you call that? Thai boxing guys and da 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 da. The kind of the popular stuff that's out there. Because there's not a lot of people that do kung fu. There doesn't seem to be a lot of it around. There's not like a lot of schools or something. So I went and looked up his system. I looked up his school's videos, etc., to try to get ready for strategizing. How am I going to spar this guy? And I'm like, wow, there's a ton of stuff in here that I'm very familiar with, stuff that I learned. Um, Kung Fu, it's tricky. You can almost think of it like music in the way that, there's people that, you learn guitar from this guy, or you learn this style of music from that guy, and it's a style, right? So everyone in the style is similar, right? Like, country music when you hear it, rock and roll when you hear it. So this kind of traditional kung fu, you're gonna know it when you see it. And so I'm pretty excited about it, but I'm also kind of what's the word? Like, mm, I can't find a word for this. Like, it's sort of like confused in a way. Like, how am I going to handle this? What am I going to do? And it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how it plays out. It'll be interesting. So I guess maybe I can do a little report on that at some point. The thing is always about like how to gain the most benefit with the least amount of injury. It's fighting. So like it's not. How do you fight without injury? That's pretty hard to do. You really actually have to be pretty good in order to do that. It's not like amateurs and beginners are totally not. They can't do it, which is fine. But so I don't know if this guy's gonna start off on 10 and just blast me and be like a dick about it, or is this a setup? Is he cool? I think what we'll do is the other teacher, the praying mantis guy, and I will probably go first. Go for a few minutes, talk about our goals and like why are we sparring, what are we training, what are we learning, and then just feel it out. So yeah, I'd say that seems to be the approach. am putting way too much time in this. Hmm. All right, I'm gonna check the chat. See if you guys, what kind of bad things you're saying about me while I'm drawing. What do we got here? I like the way it's coming out. Soros, LOL, yes, right. Sorrows. I get it, but I really liked the Adam West Batman. Oh God, yeah, I love that. That's great stuff. These streams are the best. I why? It's just me drawing. I don't know what's so great about that. Howdy, brother. Good to see you. Promethean Healing. Good stuff. Always good to have you here. Humility is accepting that there are powers greater than you, and that's a good start, and then first of all, just like saying it and saying I can be better. Or more importantly, oh, good point. Prometheus says, Dave Martell, that you're working with talked about Threma before. Oh yeah, it's supposed to be a new martial art in the works. Well, Threma is like, it's like Telegram. It's an app you can download, and you can have private groups on it and stuff. So I don't know if you're doing voice to text and something that came out wrong. Eskrima, maybe. Eskrima is a Filipino martial art. Is that what you're talking about? I want to learn many. Oh, I see. Okay, so yeah, we're always limited by what's in our town or our city. Like if you live in New York City, you have a phenomenal buffet of martial arts schools to work from. I'm very biased about kung fu. Um, Part of that for me is culture. I'm interested in Chinese culture. Um, that doesn't mean I'm not interested in others, yada yada. But I don't know what it is. There's just something about it that speaks to me. So that there you go. Um, One thing that irks me like tremendously though is the whole MMA thing. By like MMA is a sport. I'm not sort of like bad mouthing it or whatever. But in my experience, pretty much everyone that I have ever known or that's into it always has this kind of like it's the best, that kind of stuff. And it's a sport. It's been around for I don't know a couple decades or something, and telling like a kung fu guy that MMA is better is like a baby talking to a great grandfather, and it's you know kung fu is for war. It's for killing and maiming. It's been around for thousands of years. It's evolved over thousands of years. Um, you cannot put real kung fu in a ring because it would be lethal. You know, that's not to say again that whatever MMA isn't doesn't work or something. I'm not saying that. Um, I saw a very funny video. It was like a TikTok video of like these martial arts dudes joking about like if let's say if two MMA guys bump shoulders in the street, like they both like fall to the ground immediately, and they're kind of like like writhing around as if like that's how you fight or something. And the way it was done was humorous. I'm not really explaining it very well, but there's that old and I know MMA is not just rolling around on the ground or whatever, but you always in the martial arts you always get in trouble when you criticize MMA. It's you're not supposed to do that because then all the douchebags come out and blah blah blah. So I find that it's a culture too, in a sense. Like there's a lot of guys that are just really angry, and beating the shit out of each other somehow gives them a sense of validation or manliness, and it kind of lets them take out their anger on someone in a sort of socially acceptable way. Um, I mean, you got to try to imagine, for all the winners there are, there's got to be 1,000 losers. When I say losers, I don't mean they're losers as people, but like people that are not successful at this sport. It's technically not a martial art in the sense that it's a bunch of cherry picked techniques from various martial arts that are codified into a sport. And that's fine. That there's nothing wrong with that. But to call it a martial art it's like saying, and it's like comparing Bugs Bunny to Rembrandt. It's really foolish. You know. I don't want to sound like I'm, making high on my horse, and just really trying to just speak some facts here about this stuff. Um, so anyway, how did I get off on that? I was talking about Taoism. So I think everyone, the kind of the layman's understanding of Taoism is that it's the yin and yang balance, the balancing of opposites. That's fine. That's fine. You can start there. But in martial arts, so that is a numerous levels of stuff going on. So if you just think about your body weight shifting from left to right, that's where your weight is pushing down. That's yang or yang in the American accent, and where you're lifting off of is yin. Um, and then how often are you switching your weight from foot to foot while you're in the midst of battle? Quite frequently, right? But so is the opponent. So just this is just one tiny dimension of the whole thing. If you can feel and read the movement, the transition from yin to yang in your opponent, you can take advantage of that, and you can trip them, throw them, uproot them. Various techniques that you can do, which I do frequently when I'm sparring. And it's where if like the other guy gets me or I get him, we're usually like, good job, that was nice, that was a good move. And then we'll go for a few minutes and then stop and say, okay, what happened here? Well, how did you do this? Or I really liked how this thing just happened. Like we could never have planned that. It was a really interesting accident that happened here, and blah 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 blah. So there's so much that happens literally in like the nanosecond time frame that I really have to start bringing a notebook and kind of making notes about, like, okay, in this case XYZ. So like for example, the what do you call it, the praying mantis teacher, he's very good at mid-range, controlling the mid-range. So what that does is it challenges me. It makes me go, okay, I'm either going to go short range or long range, because he owns the mid range, And then I want to also say, well, no, I have to be able to function in the mid range against somebody who's good at it. So you're constantly like in real time, and like that type of a pacing, figuring out like, oh shit, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And then when we're really going full throttle, we're fighting with both our hands and feet. So we always start off kind of nice and easy. I always say there's like a dial, and you're never going to go to 10, because 10 is when you're killing someone. Max maybe 5, and even at 5, like if I were to spar or even fight somebody on 5, I could just destroy them like mercilessly. And because kung fu doesn't require you to go to 10, You don't need to. You can, especially like the systems that I have studied, like Crane and Tai Chi and just various things. Um, anyway, I'm just meandering all over the place here. I hope this is of some interest to you guys. But yeah, every Friday it's like that. I'm like, okay, I got a big challenge here. What am I going to do? And throughout the week, I'll kind of muse, like, oh, remember when that thing happened? How am I going to counter that? So, for example, when he does his mid range martial arts techniques with his arms and hands, then I notice. So I'll give you kind of an example. If there's two people fighting, these are their arms, and they're in here fighting and fighting. It's always going to neutralize. So what I did is I bent sideways, and that way I could kind of go around his defenses. And it's quite funny to see the look on his face when it's like, how come my techniques aren't working? Um, I'll be real straight with you, like, you don't, how do I say this? Like, you don't really give away your martial arts secrets. I think, I've been, you got to have trust and friendship. You got to have that. And then once you feel, this guy isn't going to use my knowledge against me, then I can help him. I can give him information. So I've been sparring the praying mantis guy since the beginning of the summer, last summer. It's a fairly long time. And I feel, and we go out for beers and stuff too. Like I've gone over to his house and yada yada, his friends, Um, but there's one really, really bad trait that he, and when I say bad, I don't mean he's bad as a person. I mean that, like, there's a fault in his way of fighting that I did not tell him until like last Friday. And it opens up a can of worms. Now he was totally cool about it. I I'll tell you what it is. So we're both quite excited to meet and work with the new guy, the Wudong teacher, and I'll just say the Taoist kung fu teacher. And I'm watching his videos, and I'm chatting with praying mantis teacher, and I said, yeah, the techniques are really, really good techniques and stuff, but he has no root. And when I said that, the praying mantis guy was like, whoa, what do you mean about, what do you mean? And, there's times when praying mantis and I are sparring, and I'll uproot him and just toss him around like a rag doll, just like a little child, just push him around. And, he doesn't know how I'm able to do that. And so it's because I train rooting, and it's part of it is like a qigong thing where and if you don't, I'm opening a massive can of worms here, but essentially it's, mm, being stuck to the ground. I don't know how else to say it. That sounds kind of weird, but like, you, if someone were to push me, I wouldn't go anywhere. They would, it would kind of bounce back on them. So that's a kind of one way to describe what rooting is. If you think about it, if you're, let's say you want to, you're punching a bag, and if you punch the bag, your body weight is behind the punch, and that will move the bag, right? But what if you jumped in the air and punched? Where would that energy go? It would go back into you because you're not on the ground. You're not rooted, right? So a lot of people, oh man, there's specific markers I'm trying to find. I can't find the damn thing. Anyway, a lot of people, they think, well, just because my feet are on the ground, I'm rooted. That's not true. Certainly not in the kung fu sense of the word. Um, because you're shifting weight left and right, your joints are all connected. You're like a big jelly mass, you know. And it's very, very easy to push someone around when they're like that. So, and then when I say push around, I mean like to manipulate where they are, where they go. And then you can kind of walk them right into a strike of some kind. You know, you can walk them right into their demise, you know. So am I making my point? Okay, yeah. So I say like the guy has no root, and because I can see it, like when you look at someone doing martial arts, and you know what rooting is and how to root, you can tell that they're not doing their techniques properly. And this is what it all boils down to. The Chinese don't tell their American students their secrets. This is awful. This is not working. Um, why would you tell a foreigner your martial arts secrets? Think about that. You know what I mean? It's they don't even tell each other their fucking secrets. Why do you think that they would tell us? And people who are like say whites, who are because it's primarily whites that want to learn all these things. But anyway, so they're captivated by the Orientalism of martial arts, and they think, ooh, it's magic powers and all this stuff, and the Chinese are very wily. They're good, good. They're good at business. They can see a deal. They can see when their business opponent is kind of like a deer in the headlights, and they take advantage of that. And so, they're like, they give you all these awards and honors and papers and belts and stickers and whatever. It's like, you got your photo with the Grand Master. You're suddenly you're a great martial artist. No, you're not. They didn't teach you the truth. They're cheating you. And I was fortunate to, I studied at Shaolin Temple. I lived in Taiwan for 4 years. You know, I did the work. I went the extra mile, and I was fortunate to find people that would share, like, the quote secrets, with me. And so I'm explaining to Mr. Praying Mantis what's going on. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I can root, da da da," and he demonstrates, and I'm like, "Nope, that's not it." And then we kind of sparred for a little bit, and I uprooted him and pushed him around, and I said, "That's what I'm talking about." And he's like, "Oh, because like it's you don't really know until you feel it. You got to experience a thing in a sense to really know the meaning of it. And that's what the sparring is a lot too, right? So, and there's so many dimensions of it as well. Like you want to train fear. You want to train like what does it feel like to be in a flurry of punches and keep your mind straight, keep your mind from panicking. You want to be able to do that. That's super freaking. That's survival. You know, um, it's just life and death stuff. You have to know how to walk in the fire and not be burned, and that's a kind of mental, emotional training. So, did anybody ever, did you ever see that in a movie or anything? No, they don't. Don't really talk about stuff like that. It's all like, look how cool I am. I'm gonna get revenge. It's just silly stuff. But and there you go. So now it's time for me to check the chat and see. Oh, I gotta move that to the center. Only 4 people here, but I have 13 likes. Somebody explain that to me. What do we got? Dave Martell's. So, okay, we have our friend from Germany is here. Good evening, maybe? Is that what that says? Oh, nope, I must have misunderstood. Love your work, Donald. Welcome, Chris Alton. Thank you for joining. Keep it up. Thanks, man. Much appreciated. Every kind word, I don't take those things for granted. I really sincerely appreciate that. Nullis is saying many traditional European male folk dances have a strong martial foundation. I totally believe that. Balance and rhythm are important for this. You're really onto something deep there for sure. Prometheus saying I was thinking about what you're saying. Taking it. Okay. So Prometheus, are there any martial arts schools near where you live? Because like I said, like you only have the whatever's around you, what's available. Um, and then which one of those are you curious about? Because I could give you a review, tell you a little bit about the system, um, and maybe that might be helpful to you. Um, so if you can share that. This is an awkward space right here. I like, I've got a sort of foreground, middle ground, background. Um, I'm thinking maybe I'll ask the colorist to blur the background a bit because I'm trying to get the sense of like, this guy's like speeding through here. I'll see about that. All right. I, I guess I'll keep talking martial arts if that's of interest to you guys. It seems to be. So, yeah, there's just a lot of misconceptions about it that, like, people kind of. What references do we have other than movies? That's the only reference we have. And, like, let's say we wanted to talk about politics, but our only reference for politics were movies. It's like, that'd be ridiculous. That'd be absurd, right? It's like, okay, well, in the in the Manchurian Candidate, there was this scene, and so now I know everything about politics. It's not how it works. So like, I don't blame people for not knowing these things or whatever, but martial arts takes a lot of time and effort, and if you're going to put all that time, money, and effort into something, you shouldn't get cheated. You know what I mean? Like and so that's kind of why I feel like it really. Yeah, I'd like to help anybody to give them advice on some things. Um, I know if Luke Mason were here, we would be jamming on that topic for sure. Um, yeah, yeah. So Luke and I both had very, very traditional training, and try to think of it like if you were at the, like the Russian ballet or something like that, where your teachers are brutally difficult. Like the standards are extraordinarily high, and it's like Olympic level training. So when I look at him moving, I can tell, yeah, he's got that training. Whereas if I look at the Taoist guy I'm gonna spar on Fridays, he's got the techniques, but he doesn't have the essence of it, and that means he was cheated. That means his teacher lied to him, and I don't know. It's so hard to kind of explain because if how do I say, like, the techniques will work, especially on somebody who doesn't know kung fu or martial arts. it's there. It's just hollow. It doesn't have the, I don't know how to put this. It's kind of like, I don't know, like let's say you wanted to buy a fancy car, and there was like the Chinese knockoff, like the cheap version of it, or I can't think of a really good example, but that's essentially what you're getting. Is you're getting like the Dollar Tree version, or the bootleg version, when you see these American guys, and they care a lot about the uniforms and the belts, and using all the Asian words, and like, you know this is and they know all the phrases and stuff, and because they're buying into Orientalism is what it is. They're how do I say, like the marketing worked, where it's like, oh, I do kung fu because I know how to count to 10 in Chinese or something. It's like those things aren't useful. Culture is cool and fun, and obviously I like it, right? I've enjoyed it a lot, but there's just this kind of, it's a problem. I don't know how to say, like, and like when I talk about it to a lot of people, that it bursts their bubble, so they don't want to hear that. They want to continue, living in their world of, like, belt systems and stuff like that. So for example, like a black belt in Japan, for example, means you've learned all the techniques of the system. It doesn't mean you're a master of the system. But the way that they sold it to Americans, and imagine like World War II, Hiroshima, occupying Japan, like they were humiliated by us. Do you think they were going to fucking tell us, like, their secrets? No, it's like, okay, you're a black belt, you're done. You know all the moves, and are you even doing the moves correctly? So it's kind of it's a scam in a way. And not in all cases. It's not always a scam, and there's certainly good, honest teachers out there, and you know this, that, and the other thing. But Americans just, they seem to want to believe so bad that they defend their school and their teacher, and this ridiculous, like, my system's the best and stuff. It's not so much about systems as it is how good you are at it. I will say that, yeah, there are techniques that are superior to other techniques. But that doesn't mean somebody couldn't still beat you, if they were very, very well practiced. It's a little bit of a cliche, but there's the old saying, Bruce Lee popularized it and took credit for it, that I don't fear the man who knows 1,000 kicks, but I fear the man who's done one kick 1,000 times. You know, um, and that's pretty much true. So, like in kung fu, they have things that they call kungs, which is, kung fu is so gong fu is discipline. Essentially, it basically means discipline. Like the Chinese don't use the word kung fu for kung fu. They use the word wushu, which literally means martial arts. So a kung is a discipline. So, like, for example, you see these guys that they might punch a wooden board, like, for years, and it might look like, well, where's the technique? It's not fancy, it's not glamorous. I can't impress people with this technique. Why would I want to do that? And then the guy can smash through a wall with one punch because he did that kung so many times. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think I'd probably change the topic here. Maybe it's getting a bit tedious for you guys. So I used to use real ink, like India ink, with a brush, and it's so much more enjoyable than using these markers. But it's it's more expensive. It's more time consuming because and it's more dangerous in the sense that there's a possibility that you can spill the ink, you can drip it. There's just stuff, So whatever. In the end, you get the same effect as far as like the visual effect. So I'm gonna check the chat. Whoop, for a second here and see what's shaking. 15 likes and 8 people here. Welcome to my world. CG, thank you. Glad you're good. Let's see what the conversation context is here. Um, we got people chatting with each other. Evening, good to have you here. That's what I need because I can't tell what's real and what's gimmick. Yes. So once again, if you can mention a style to me, I can probably tell you about it. Nullis speaks German, so if our German guest wants to chat with him, you guys can go do that. It's an honor to be here with you guys. Wow, that's a lovely thing to say. The honor is ours. Da, da, da. No, no, that's my honor. No, it's your honor. Luke is another kung fu artist, isn't he? Yeah, Luke Mason, Imminent Rain on YouTube. Imminent Rain, one of the big dogs in our White Art Collective world. There is a fitness to the real thing. Everything great. Da, da, da. Yes, definitely love and friendship between America and Germany. Tell you, boy, we are doing the Warcast tonight. Ah, yes. What time is the Warcast? Maybe throw a link in there. Yeah. There you go. This is kind of interesting. You can probably see the Chinese on there, and so like, it's a beautiful brush. This is for calligraphy, or you could do sort of quasi Chinese painting with it, but it's lovely, lovely brush. I really would like to just do sort of more fine arty kind of stuff with this. Is that a word, fine arty? I just made it up, trademark it. But it's good in like a certain. It's just very precise. So I'm very psyched. I know that the sparring the Tai Chi guy it's not Tai Chi, sorry, the Taoist Kung Fu guy is not going to be easy. The techniques in the school are very sophisticated, and he's more fit than I am. He's more like the guy runs a freaking school, man. He does Kung Fu every day, so he's very, very fit. I have a mortgage and a full time job, and you know, getting old. So like I'm just trying to stay on top of my techniques, I'm not looking to learn new things. The new things I'm learning is how to strategize in sparring. Like sparring is the only thing I need to do now. I'm like which like think of it this way. Let's say I learned French for, you know, 20 years, but I never went to France. I mean, like stupid, right? Like so, like sparring is going to France. That's or let's say Germany. Okay, how about that? You have to go to the country and speak the language, and in these, in the language of kung fu, you come across all kinds of topics, right? How do I deal with short range, medium range, long range? Another guy that I spar is very, very good with kicking. He's like a kicker. I used to be when I was at Shaolin. I was quite good at that. Um, Not part of my strategy so much now. I definitely kick when I feel I want to, or that it works and that it fits. But people don't understand how much risk you take when you throw a kick. It's very easy to mm, knock somebody down because they're only on one leg. So we were talking about rooting just a little while ago, and if you're on one leg, you don't have as much root, right? So there you go. I just gave you a martial arts secret. Okay, don't tell anyone. But it's not fun getting kicked either. You know, it's like, so like this guy's throwing crescent kicks and all kinds of good stuff at me, and then I'm like, shit, yeah, man, you got me. You know, it's what do I do? What how do I counter that? I need a way. You know, I've got to come up with a better strategy or better skill. You know, in the sense like you can know a strategy on how to defend against kicks, but can you do the strategy? You've got to have a certain level of skill, you know, to do that. So, and you don't get it by sitting around watching, you know, Bruce Lee movies or, wearing a certain color belt. You got to get in the fire, you know. So CG is in a different time zone. What time does your show start? I assume you shared the link with the guys in the chat. Um, Thanks for having me on your show a while back. That was a lot of fun. Um, I hope I was a good guest. I don't know if I was rude or not. I figured with you guys I could just let it all go. Like I didn't have to be like, oh, I gotta be careful what I say. You know, I can just hit it. You know. Um, so there you go. And that show I think was like 2 hours or so, and I don't know. I generally don't go that long unless it's conversations with the wind. Ellis is laughing right now. Mm. Okay, this seems to be shaping up pretty nicely. Um, it's doing okay. I wonder how my battery is on my phone. So let's kind of take a look. So, low battery alert. I'm sorry, let me get that. Oh shit, looks like I'm, there we go. Okay. Let's take a look at the chat here. Slots is here. Awesome sauce. Okay. Awesome slots. What do we got? I gotta read. I gotta catch up on all this stuff here. Okay, guys, I just tell your boy at 8 p.m. So that's probably 11 or 12 East Coast. When the engineer has the stream. Taekwondo. There's only Koreans in the class. That's interesting. They taught stuff I'd never seen before. Slot says, I applied the quote you had about prevent sin of harming you through mortal wounding another for self-defense to arguing Socrates should have escaped prison. Wow, it's heavy. Um, uh, was that on Twitter? Ancient Chinese secret. Let's see. Good. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to catch up with what you guys are doing here. Conversation with Lily. And yeah. One of your shows was 4 hours long, dude. 4 hours, man. I noticed the same thing. Let's see.
So, Nollis, are you bringing back conversations with the wind? No, I haven't been drinking.
Um, and if so, when? And how might it be different from previous shows? I don't know. It's pretty much the same format. All right. So here is our main character lying in the debris. Um, I'm going to focus on this for a bit. See how nice it is when I don't talk? Nice and peaceful. I'm gonna check the chat in a second, guys. Just had to focus on this for a bit. It's coming together. I have to put more shadows in there, though. Okay.
What is shaking in the chat? We got 16 likes, 5 people. You guys are chatting away over here, huh? No, it's enlightening to hear your wisdom. Good. Change the format. You're only going to have 10 episodes per season. Okay. Conversations is coming back. Have family visit for yes. Donald Kent Art, can you mod me so I can add the link to the show? I'm using my phone right now, so I don't really know how to do that. I know that essentially they can go to Odyssey and look up your show name, and it should pop up, right? Slots woke up at 8 today, 6 hours sleep only, day off, so vegged until, yeah. Sleep, I missed the day, yeah. Sometimes you gotta veg out. Effectively been awake for, yeah. I actually took like a 5-hour energy drink at 6 because I didn't want to waste tonight. And here are the guys chatting. Spent the day yesterday. Okay, all right. Well, that's cool. Of course, you guys can chat with each other. I just wanted to see if there were any questions that I could answer. My phone is now on 10%. So I guess I should probably wrap it. One time the phone died on me in the middle of a stream, and it was weird. Something I don't like. I think I lost the stream. So I am gonna say thank you for joining me. I think that I got a lot of work done today. I'm feeling good about myself. I hate myself unless I'm doing art, just so you know that. And I'm so grateful for your company and your presence. Um, it's, so I guess I'm gonna just wish you guys a wonderful night. More art streams to come, many, many, many more. Like I've got 125 pages of comics to do here. Let's see if we can tune into to CG's show tonight. I do have to work tomorrow. It's a little late for me, but I would like to tune in. Thank you, Nellis, for coming, and thanks. I'm glad you guys enjoy this. Again, it's really just me drawing, so I don't know what's so great about it, but I'm glad you guys like it, and I love hanging out with friends. So, anyway, have yourselves a good night, and God bless. We'll talk to you soon.